All right, everybody, welcome. Good late afternoon or early evening for some of you. And it's that time. We have ourselves the schedule. We have ourselves the 2025 NFL schedule, including, of course, the games the Seahawks play. There's a lot of interesting stuff to digest across the league, but we're going to be focusing on the Seahawks. So, first of all, I want to say my initial reaction to the schedule was done on Bleacher Report. If you did not catch that show live, you can actually watch the video on demand over on the Bleacher Report app. Just go to my account, should be there. You can use the link I posted in the community tab to get there, I believe. Excuse me. So if you want to see my initial reaction to the schedule as I was looking at it for the first time, go check that out. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and do something a little bit more organized because I will have actually seen the schedule before I look at it here. I've already seen it as of right now. By the way, I know my green screen effect still doesn't work. Still trying to figure out what's going on. Still kind of confused by the whole thing, but we'll get to the bottom of that. Okay, so the schedule posted on the Seahawks official X account. Going to go ahead and pull that up, scrolling down here, and we'll go through it and discuss the general and the specific initial thoughts here. And there will probably be another video very soon where I actually go for some kind of a record prediction. All right, so the dark tone is a home game and the white is an away game. So we start September 7th, Niners at home, and you can see the entire first 11 weeks of the schedule is home road, home road, home road. So we alternate cleanly with each game all the way up to week 11. So we start in San Fran, which is something that I knew from yesterday because I saw some of the leaks. Hard to avoid. So I knew about home against San Fran week 1. We got Pittsburgh on the road, 10 a.m. game week 2. We've got the Saints week 3 at home, normal time slot. First primetime game is going to be the Cardinals on the road, Thursday Night Football. So that brings its own wrinkles because you're talking about a road Thursday night game. Never fun, never easy. Tampa Bay at home to start October. Jacksonville on the road on the 12th, 10 a.m. game. Then we get primetime Monday Night Football. I've been told this is a doubleheader game. So we're going to be playing Houston at 7 p.m., and there's probably going to be another Monday Night Football game that starts earlier than that. So I'm not too thrilled, admittedly. I'm just going to go ahead and acknowledge that. A 7 p.m. start time. Not my favorite thing in the world, but should be an interesting showcase regardless. Bye week. Interesting spot for a bye week. It's decent. I'd prefer maybe a little bit later, but I don't think this is bad. Sunday Night Football, road against Washington. This may be the most intimidating game of the season, and it's right in the middle of the schedule. So we'll definitely have to talk about that one as the season goes on. There's a chance Washington is a little bit of a juggernaut this year, but I wouldn't completely rule out some regression at the same time. We'll talk about that. We get home against the Cardinals, normal time slot, and then we get road against the Rams, normal time slot. So that's where the alternating home road, home road, home road actually stops. But it's worth noting we do not play the Rams until week 11, which is an interesting wrinkle. It could result in the Rams not being very recognizable by the time we play them, just by virtue of the fact that I think we're all aware that Stafford could go one way or the other this season. He's old. He's got a lot of miles. It wouldn't shock me if he ended up either kind of wilting by the end of the season or maybe not even playing. So interesting part there. Then we get our second road game. We're going East Coast, 10 a.m. start against the Titans. They were obviously the worst team by record in the league last year, so certainly some potential for them to be very bad again, even with the improvements they made. And then we get a home game against the Vikings to close out November, week 13. Who knows what the Vikings are going to be this year, right? Like, they could really go violently one way or the other. Falcons on the road to start December, another 10 a.m. game. come back home to play the Colts December 14th. Who the heck knows what they're going to have at quarterback by this point? They might bring Andrew Luck out of retirement for this one. I don't know. With the way the guys they have keep getting injured, it seems like anything is possible. Thursday Night Football, we've got a home game against the Rams, our second Thursday Night Football game of the season. And this one could have big stakes. Rams probably going to go for it this year. Might be their last chance to go for it with Stafford. But by this point, maybe their fate is already written. Maybe it's already kind of predetermined by this point that this ain't it. So that's going to be a big one. If the Rams are still competitive by this point, this may be a game that decides the division. Road against the Panthers, to be decided. Depends on whether this game matters, probably. And then you've got San Fran on the road, week 18, to be decided. I know you guys can't see because of my face cam, but take my word for it, they haven't given a start time or even a date yet. And that's your schedule. So overall, I think this is actually a very agreeable schedule. I think that this schedule is about as good as you could hope for as a Seahawks fan, with the possible exception of maybe wanting the bye week a little bit later. But even then, the bye week separates two primetime games against opponents that should at least be good. So even that is kind of nice. Maybe you could make an argument that having the bye week right before the Washington game is a little bit of a waste, because quite frankly, Washington may be a little bit too much to overcome this year. That's like the one game that really stands out to me in that regard, but getting the bye week can only help. But you take a look at this schedule. September, if you group the season into like month-long windows, that first month, the game that stands out to me is the Steelers game. And even that, like, if they got Mason Rudolph at quarterback, then they're beatable. That's a beatable team if they don't have a quarterback. I still think that 10 a.m. start on the road, that's going to be tough. The defense should still at least be good. Maybe it won't be stellar, but it could be good. I do suppose that there is some scenario where Pittsburgh isn't intimidating this year, but I suspect that they'll be good enough to be a problem on the road in week 2. At least it's not later in the season when it might be really cold and windy and snowy and all that. But other than that, I'm looking at home against San Fran, probably no Brandon Ayuk. I'm looking at the Saints, who don't have a quarterback, and I'm looking at the Cardinals, who, look, Thursday Night Football on the road isn't fun, but at the same time, that Cardinals team, I think, is probably going to be just okay again this year. That's a team that we've beaten 7 times in a row. I'm not worried about them. I'm aware of the possibility of losing, but overall, it's a really nice September. The only game that really kind of immediately jumps out to me is just that one, it may not be your day game, would be the Pittsburgh game. And then you go to October. Well, you've got 2 games against good teams, although watch out for Tampa Bay declining without Cohen. Liam Cohen was a big loss. But you've got 2 games against good teams, but both of the good teams you play are at home. And then you have a road game, which is, hey, 3,000-mile flight. That's not cool, but it's against one of the worst teams in the league last year, a team that I don't think they did enough to make themselves good in 2025. So this is not too bad of an October either. Then you get the bye week at the end. Like, your tough game in this bunch is probably Tampa Bay. I think it's Tampa Bay. Some would argue Houston, but I think that's your tough October game, really. And I actually feel like Houston has a lot of question marks, too. I know some people say they made the playoffs. They have. They've won a couple playoff games over the last 2 years. But for me, I look at that team and I go, did they fix their offensive line? And even if they did they do enough to address wide receiver? Because Tank Dell's not going to play this year, almost certainly. So I don't know if they did enough. So October doesn't look too bad. November is the one month where things could get dodgy. You've got Washington, you've got the Rams on the road, and you've got the Vikings. That could be the one month where you get beat up a little bit, but at least it's spaced out, right? Like, after Washington, you get the home game against Arizona that if you're a good team, you beat Arizona at home on November 9th. And then after the Rams, you get the Titans. And I know it's a road game, but that's another team. You better beat that team if you're serious about 2025. So at least it's spaced out. But realistically, other than Washington, I'm not completely convinced about the other two. The Rams, I think they'll be good, but Stafford's old. What if he just turns into a pumpkin? It's gonna happen. We just don't know when. If it happens this year, they don't really have anything going on that roster that can save them. And then the Vikings, big question marks. Is JJ McCarthy any good? And if he is, that doesn't necessarily mean the defense is going to have the same success they had last year. And we have questions here. They probably need to revamp their offensive line at least a little bit. Did they do it successfully this offseason? Time will tell. So even that is kind of like, well, I think they'll be good, but I'm not sure. And then you get into December. I think Atlanta is going to be an interesting team this year. I think Atlanta could be dangerous, especially on the road. But the Colts, and then you get the Rams at home on a short week. You should be able to do some work those games if you're a serious team. And then you get to finish things off with the Panthers, who I don't know. I think they can be an okay team. I don't think they're going to be good, especially by this point in the season. If they're eliminated, they might just be rolling over. If they're like out of playoff contention, that's a very realistic possibility. And then you've got the 49ers who, I mean, by week 18, any team could be completely beat up. So it seems weird to prognosticate too much on that. But I don't know. The Niners, I don't think they're going to be a great team this year. I think they may have great results because their schedule is super soft, but I'm not convinced that it's going to mean they're a great team. So everything's spaced out pretty well. The bye week is coming in at a reasonable time. We should be able to lean on home field in a couple of these games that could go one way or the other. I think it's a really good schedule, guys. Couldn't have asked for much more. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to get out of here. Go Hawks.